If you ask 10 people about the ideal way to guard their kidneys, almost all of them will suggest the exact same couple of options: stay hydrated and limit sodium intake. Those tips are completely valid and highly important, but they represent only a tiny portion of the complete physiological narrative. The missing chapters occur in the dark hours when you are fast asleep. Let me explain the vital process most clinics neglect to outline. Your internal filters execute critical recovery cycles overnight, following the natural reduction of arterial blood pressure when mechanical filtration declines. What you choose to consume during the final hour of your day either supports that crucial downtime or silently interferes with its progression. Beyond the age of 60, these patterns take on extreme priority, primarily because tissue failure inside the kidney presents zero initial symptoms. Declining filters do not generate pain due to a severe lack of sensory nerves within their physical tissue boundaries. Consequently, by the time abnormalities register on routine yearly labs, upwards of 30% of filtration power is often lost permanently. And unlike your liver, renal cells lack the physical ability to regenerate what gets worn down. Having studied these trends across 15 years, I see these silent shifts quietly overwhelm patient paths, especially those who assume their habits are pristine. Therefore, I want to review the exact nighttime fruits that can physically preserve those filtering columns during your sleep cycle. While several options are expected, a few are surprisingly unconventional, including one fruit commonly restricted in kidney cohorts for an extremely logical mechanism we will explore fully. To conclude, I will share a direct evening juice combination blending the most effective options within one serving. Prior to exploring the first fruit selection, let me offer an encouraging reality if you are currently anxious about missing vital preventative windows. Trutz. Please consider this. Although renal filters cannot replace lost structures, you can successfully decelerate declining baselines nearly to a standstill. Thousands achieve this every day. I regularly supervise clients in their 70s who hold physical labs flat across years simply by preventing direct operational overload and securing targeted dietary assets. Supporting that preservation remains the precise motive driving these programs. My priority focuses on seeing you survive with vitality well past chronological deadlines commonly associated with physical limits. For that reason, I combined every instruction shared in my personal consult rooms, highlighting diet choices, intake schedules, and simple physical modifications within a straightforward guide. This system is already aiding numerous individuals in our group with reclaiming high vitality scores. You are welcome to access this detailed program via the on-screen link whenever you wish to examine the tools. Let us evaluate kidney function in more detail. Let's outline the physiological processes typically omitted during rapid clinical consults. Both renal organs accommodate roughly 1 million microfilters labeled nephrons. In the absolute core of each pathway is a concentrated cluster of vessels called the glomerulus, serving as the essential barrier that separates fluid residues while conserving vital blood assets inside the circulation. Each individual begins their life cycle with their exact allocation of functional nephrons. There is no possibility of structural division or cell regeneration down the line. Managing aging effectively beyond 60 focuses primarily on defending the structural integrity of this original allocation. In terms of threats, two main vectors damage these delicate pathways quicker than all others combined. Initially, consider internal fluid pressure. Whenever cardiovascular force elevates, it pounds relentlessly against thin vessel groups, much like elevated high-force water moving past structural pipelines for years. Over time, that structural hammering leaves rigid scar markings across individual lines. Secondly, investigate the ongoing effects of metabolic oxidation, simply representing a slow underskin structural rusting in the tissues, equivalent to patterns coloring open fruits. Dealing with chronic stress patterns under both pressure and oxygen pathways accelerates tissue loss year after year. With that established, we must consider why the evening remains an ignored diagnostic element. Your arterial fluid force should fluctuate continuously depending on physical circadian hours. Inside a robust frame, systemic force recedes by 10 to 20% when resting horizontally. This cycle, called nocturnal pressure dipping, operates as a primary restorative window for filters, removing mechanical strain so cells can organize basic recovery tasks. For individuals lacking that nighttime drop, functional renal deterioration speeds up measurably. In terms of evening dining targets, our rules are straightforward. Choose inputs that normalize pressure, offset cellular rust, and limit metabolic workloads as your tissues try resting. Every fruit item on today's program handles at least one protective task during nocturnal downtime, delivering natural phenols that resolve internal rust and guard glomerular layers, offering targeted bioflavonoids that expand vessel pathways to assist blood dipping or optimizing systemic digestion, fluid balances, and urinary lines so filtration limits remain completely eased. Furthermore, they are typically low sugar structures suitable for late schedules. Let us look at key items, paying focus to one essential restriction we will evaluate together directly. Our leading item is the common blueberry, representing our absolute most validated therapeutic selection. What creates its distinct deep indigo skin is a targeted pigment called anthocyanin. This specific compound ranks among the highest concentration oxygen mopping variables available in whole food groups. For your renal systems, this directly affects key structures. Recalling our details regarding chemical oxidation rusting of vessel linings, these elements physically suppress that deteriorating reaction. Extensive observational databases repeatedly connect anthocyanin-rich nutrition alongside minimized tissue inflammation and enhanced blood circulation. Remember that renal structures consist heavily of a rich, delicate vascular framework. Securing vascular health defends filtration capacity concurrently. There is a secondary bedtime asset of this berry. Its extremely moderate potassium and sodium margins allow it to be easily integrated during active cell challenges. Save that diagnostic focus because managing total dietary minerals plays an important part as we proceed. Integrate these safely. Use a half-cup portion served alone or mixed gently with minimal organic yogurt. Ice-cold preserved berries act identically to farm fresh items, as they are typically captured at visual maturity milestones to preserve anthocyanin quantities. Stick to standard measurements. Half a cup introduces vital support indices while keeping natural carbohydrate exposures completely trivial right as your biological systems power down. Second is an option that remains highly unappreciated during night dining circles despite common misconceptions. Cranberries. Classic recommendations relegate them simply as an active response during initial indications of pelvic tract discomfort. That standard tip is valid, yet it bypasses more extensive benefits. Why do these tart fruits justify distinct placement in kidney care routines? They deliver highly structured proanthocyanidin chains, which make it physically difficult for outside organisms to latch onto bladder or urinary tissue borders. That is a direct biochemical effect. It protects the kidneys enormously, since minor downstream infections can migrate upward to degrade filtering capacity permanently over time. Intercepting issues in local urinary areas saves renal pathways higher up. Additionally, their pigment footprint acts similarly to berries, cooling oxidative stresses alongside microbial risks. Due to natural acidity, avoid processed juice alternatives containing high sugar indices, which mimic common soft drinks. Pick small counts of sun-dried unflavored options or pure acidic extracts diluted through plain water. Minimal quantities achieve beautiful results, running gently across target filtration columns as you sleep. The third choice includes red grapes, and selecting pigmented grapes is crucial here. Focus exclusively on crimson or dark selections over standard light grapes, as their exterior skins concentrate resveratrol, a famous polyphenol heavily reviewed in therapeutic studies. In relation to filtering functions, this molecule works twofold, suppressing deep inflammatory changes and supporting cellular vascular relaxation right as sleep processes call for natural pressure drops. Easing mechanical stress secures lighter nighttime blood pressure limits, translating to less structural grinding within sensitive capillary filters during your resting period. This choice possesses an interesting secondary asset that matches our targets perfectly. The fruit retains a minimal concentration of natural melatonin, the chemical baseline telling our system to begin rest cycles. It does not replace prescription sedatives, yet assisting peaceful slumber patterns optimizes normal cardiovascular pressure drops in parallel. Solid rest metrics directly promote excellent physical defense. Still, to stay transparent, recognize that grape sugars are more concentrated than berry profiles, meaning discipline is essential. Avoid taking entire containers prior to sleep. Utilize exactly 10 to 15 red grapes with skin included to access active components directly. Try placing them inside home cooling blocks. Enjoying them frozen extends the snacking interval and substitutes perfectly for heavy commercial frozen foods. Number four features standard whole apples, shielding your filtration paths via digestive interactions. Apples deliver superb amounts of pectin, a specialized gelatinous soluble fiber. Upon reaching digestive tracts, it supports standard localized bacterial arrays, meaning your system sends drastically fewer inflammatory triggers inside systemic paths. Protecting these pathways represents vital preventative therapy, since kidneys clear current volumes directly from your general blood supplies. Unchecked core swelling constantly burdens localized filters. Incorporating apples protects downstream regions in advance. This distinct loop between intestines and filtering columns represents a vital research direction labeled the gut-kidney communication loop. Further beneficial elements accumulate in external parts. Apple peels contain quercetin, which targets cellular swellings directly to guard neighboring circulation layers. Removing skin limits health values considerably, so always leave it on. Like our first berries choice, apples present low mineral patterns suitable for almost all dietary constraints. Consuming one average selection at night remains perfect. Slightly green, sharp alternatives often possess minimized carbohydrate concentrations coupled alongside enhanced quantities of pectin. Try portioning them with pure ground cinnamon. Taking this snack 2 hours prior to bed allows active structures to establish digestive normalization as you sleep. Currently, each highlighted option manages targeted supportive goals, dampening metabolic wear while shielding baseline pressure values. Still, we have covered only half of the list. Our following options introduce distinct benefits, like one option executing structural services others cannot perform, or another frequently classified as a strict restriction across various medical profiles. If these summaries represent your first introduction explaining why overnight windows protect functional filters better than simple liquid intakes or low salt practices, take a quick moment to join our subscriber area and highlight today's guide. Additionally, if your inner circles struggle with elevated pressures or diagnostic glycemic challenges representing key elements damaging kidneys permanently, forward these steps immediately to expand their preventive horizons. Proceeding to our fifth entry, let us review Tart cherries, which introduce exceptional direct protections unlike others on our roster. Typical orchard sweet cherries behave very differently compared to Tart selections. These acid varieties guard kidney lines by lowering uric acid. This byproduct accumulates in the bloodstream until the kidneys clear the extra, yet chronic elevations form painful deposits, trigger painful crystals inside joints, or accelerate global structural decline directly. Using specialized cherries can stabilize blood profiles cleanly. Further, they match late scheduling wonderfully, representing superb resources of melatonin in natural whole foods. It acts as an organic sleep promoter. Optimizing natural rest through targeted chemical inputs protects downstream vessels by assisting nocturnal blood pressure drops, the exact target restorative phase we are evaluating today. Achieving direct uric balances while facilitating deeper sleep via one natural option remains phenomenal. Use small dried unflavored portions or diluting acidic pure concentrations inside clean water 60 minutes prior to sleeping. Strictly skip mixed cocktail types holding substantial sugar margins. Raw unflavored extracts are the exact selections validating therapeutic benefits. Six on the roster is strawberries, presenting identical vascular assets to blueberry profiles alongside localized secondary highlights. They bring dense supplies of active compounds featuring ellagic acid joined by high concentration vitamin C. Working combined, these structures directly shield sensitive internal tissue sheets. Furthermore, they mitigate generalized circulatory swelling, which represents an active motor of renal wear over time. Obtaining these therapeutic parameters inside sweet items is excellent. For our late dining patterns, their physical properties work beautifully, being composed mostly of water alongside dietary fiber margins, keeps physical digestion remarkably comfortable right before bed. They deliver immense defensive indicators devoid of sudden glucose alterations or persistent internal bulk. Additionally, their mineral balance is friendly to broad circles, even if marginally more elevated than blueberries. If you are already managing prior diagnostics, trim portions, enjoy sliced counts within half a cup combined with minimal sugar-free yogurt. Enhancing the sweet experience can be easily achieved through clean spice dashes rather than refined foods. Simple physical protection options help ease filters smoothly overnight. Number 7 focuses on pineapple, representing a rare entry in wellness reviews, despite holding bromelain, an extremely effective natural enzyme. This component quells pervasive systemic inflammation, which can erode fragile glomerular frameworks if left unchecked. Furthermore, it aids food processing stages, ensuring fewer digestive materials reach processing filters overnight. Alongside this proteolytic agent, pineapples provide rich vitamin C quantities that cooperate dynamically across vessel tracts. Let's inspect the distinct night's benefits. Despite its rich tropical sweetness, it delivers surprisingly low mineral footprints, establishing it on our conservative lists. It balances fluids while preventing systemic burdens during bedtime. Of course, regulate consumption volumes given its direct fruit sugars. Restricting yourself to half a cup represents an appropriate physical portion. Strictly emphasize clean, fresh options over sugar-sweetened, preserved variants. Enjoying small cold slices 60 minutes prior to rest puts active botanical factors directly to work in silent ways as you sleep. Number 8 covers citrus variations, the specific options senior patients are frequently told to reject entirely. Examining this is crucial because its biological outcomes behave in two-sided pathways. Review the preventive highlight initially. These options are supreme resources of dietary citrate, which easily binds raw urine calcium to prevent crystal formations. Citrate functions as your physiology's primary natural barrier, preventing deep calcified stones. Additionally, citrus brings active trace nutrients that manage cellular oxidations equivalent to prior items. For individuals with clear profiles managing standard block histories, incorporate it directly. What prompts warning checklists then? Citrus packs considerable potassium reserves. It is essential to be direct regarding this physiological point. Robust cells resolve trace potassium seamlessly, as those outputs actively lower vessel force levels. However, as tissue status compromises past clinical thresholds or during complex filtration cycles, clearing active potassium drops, which can allow accumulation within your bloodstream. Use the following guide explicitly. If managing diagnosed limitations, do not add tropical elements or high potassium citrus until confirming individual indicators directly with specialists. For clear frameworks, minor fresh slices make a helpful bedtime contribution. Prior to sharing our companion guide, let us outline important safety boundaries. Our dietary program is designed solely to maintain clear kidneys and resolve minor initial pressure levels. They do not serve as custom therapies when facing extensive organ damage. Observing noticeable limb retention, distinct eye swelling, persistently foamy urine, direct coloration variations, severe reductions in natural volume levels, or localized low rib discomfort is serious. These specific developments demand diagnostic checkups. If already holding specific diagnostics or balancing complex pharmaceutical compounds, only use this program under physician supervision, taking care around citrus options because of their raw trace minerals. Nutrients optimize internal baselines, but do not substitute for actual primary therapies. See, I value discussing a real patient history. An active retired 67-year-old I'll call Eleanor, who experienced zero local pain, yet her physical checkups indicated slipping filters. Her baseline values fell into cautious watch levels, alongside elevated biological indicators. It caught her entirely off guard. She was highly active and managed standard diagnostics easily. Our action plan avoided immediate pills, focusing on nocturnal environments. She routinely completed days eating heavily flavored industrial biscuits or frozen foods, just as capillary columns were settling down for restorative phases. Changing this approach proved crucial. We integrated targeted low-sodium berry selections, combined on other evenings with sliced apple strips and true cinnamon, alongside occasional sour cherries beforehand. We scheduled standard orange usage exclusively for day hours once we checked her cellular chemistry, pairing this transition with post meal walking loops. Across subsequent updates, her general filtering indices remained entirely stabilized. Although compromised areas failed to regenerate, checking future declension represented a tremendous success. She prioritized keeping mechanical pressures minimized overnight. Now, here is the quick evening blended program targeting our absolute best conservative ingredients inside a simple serving. The entire preparation consumes merely 2 minutes. Integrate a quarter cup portion of wild blueberries directly inside standard blenders. Join this with several clean sliced strawberries. Dash in small counts of pure acid cranberry or target sour cherry fluids, aiding local fluid clearance and managing organic parameters in parallel. Append roughly a half cup of clean sugar-free kefir or traditional natural yogurt, reestablishing essential gut bacteria supporting our organic communication axis using light dilutions of pure water to optimize density. Dash basic ground cinnamon across the blend, operating equipment until a smooth structure arises. This delivers minimized carbohydrate concentrations and safe mineral values while concentrating vital active agents specifically as you sleep, substituting beautifully for sodium-loaded snacks or commercial processed options. Vary your nighttime beverage options periodically so schedules remain enjoyable. The habits you adopt consistently determine final preventive outcomes. If a sweeter profile matches your preference, insert a minor quantity of red grapes inside prior configurations. For those managing subtle digestive issues late at night, swap out the standard dairy liquids entirely for basic mineral water with your chosen berries. Naturally, running mechanical blending is optional. Choosing structured small portions of clean whole berries layered lightly across traditional unsweetened yogurt delivers comparable results. The exact processing step matters less than changing physical actions. It means omitting nighttime salt exposures in favor of target nutrients. It was intentional to keep the citrus fruits out of the primary blended blueprint to protect various users. Maintain targeted citrus foods primarily for sunlit intervals, establishing your beverage solely on low potassium properties to assure maximum clinical safety broad scale. Therefore, plan the following simple actions starting tonight. Initially, close cooking and kitchen access earlier. Target organic raw items as your final choices to allow the night restoration period to begin under lighter cellular demands. Second, isolate one safe mineral choice already at home, like basic strawberries or green apples, preparing small, fresh measurements 60 minutes prior to sleeping. Third, prepare our direct blend sequence using standard quantities of berries, acidic extracts, plain unflavored bases, and direct cinnamon spice dashes. Fourth, prioritize brief walking sequences following dinner blocks as moving lowers fluid pressure to reduce vascular wear. Fifth, if you coordinate around prior diagnostic checkups or specific prescriptions, make notes to discuss a quick inquiry next time. Confirm exactly which of these safe, low potassium options support your blood work profiles perfectly to manage variables cleanly. Using beneficial nighttime inputs acts as an exceptional defensive strategy. However, there represents another distinct protective element mostly ignored by older adults, an implicit marker registered on standard lab lists that alerts of tissue issues decades prior to typical kidney changes. Primary providers rarely highlight this evaluation unless you demand it. In our upcoming clinical analysis, I will outline the precise lab title to ask for and outline custom actions if yours displays early changes.